Hello everyone, and welcome to my stream of the 100 Days of Code challenge. First of all, let me remind you what I'm doing. I'm working on a text encryption decryption app. First day, I created a spec. Let me show you. Text transformer. It's called text transformer app. That's how I named it on GitHub. So here, first they created a layout and a spec. So layout looks like this. We have 3 panels for input, transforms, and output. User can enter any data in the input panel, then they can transform it somehow, then they see the output. For example, they can encrypt the text. In this example, we encrypt it with the AES algorithm, and then see the output. Okay, so now what has been done already? I already set up React app. Also I set up Cypress testing framework. Let's start everything first. Let's start React app with yarn start. I'm using yarn here. And also we can start Cypress with yarn Cypress open. Apart from that, I wrote like 4 test cases for Cypress and also set up a CI. I'm using Travis CI. Here is our CI. Yesterday I finished on styling 3 panels. I'm using Material UI. So this is new for me. I never used Material UI, and also what is new for me, Material UI is not using normal CSS. Instead, they're using CSS in JS, which is all new to me. So in the previous video, I was trying to figure out how to use this. You can check out day 6. I'm showing how to set up your own theme, how you can style your components directly in JS, or actually this TS for me, but there is not much difference, right? So now React app started. Here we have 3 components. I haven't styled properly this component yet. This is supposed to be a transform component, an empty transform component. Here we should be able to select what transform we want, but somehow this drop down doesn't look correct. What I want is to use same CSS for different drop downs, but somehow because we're using CSS in JS, there was some issue with this last time. So first let's complete this, and after this is done, I will set up Redux, and hopefully we'll be able to do some logical things there, like maybe I will be able to set input text to the Redux state. Okay. So here is our transforms panel. This is transforms panel component. This is the component this is the component for this middle part. Oh, and this is transforms component, right? So it contains one element currently. It contains two elements. It contains paper element, paper component. This is basically this box outside. You see, it looks like paper. That's why it's called paper component. And inside of this paper component, we have transform element component, which is this one. Okay, this card. This is transform element component. So here is our transform element component, which in its turn only contain a single drop down. That's it. So what I want this drop down. Okay, that's not how I can open it. I want this drop down to use the same CSS as the encoding drop down component. Encoding drop down component is this drop down. This is an encoding drop down. These both are encoding drop downs. The easiest way to do that would be to have a separate Bootstrap input component. We can have it somewhere in our components folder, in a separate folder. Bootstrap, let's say we can call it Bootstrap drop down. I think that's how we should call it. Bootstrap drop down. I think probably TSX. Now I moving all the imports which were needed here to use this Bootstrap input inside of this file to a separate file, right? So now we can just export it here. So now we can just use this Bootstrap input. We can import it here. Let it import automatically. No, it did not import automatically, I think. Did it? I don't know why. Bootstrap input. No, it's not importing it. Okay, I'll do it like this. Import Bootstrap input from yeah, we should call it Bootstrap dropdown so that it's called like file name, right? Because otherwise it would be confusing. Okay. What about now? Okay. Same thing we can do with the other dropdown, which is transform selection dropdown. It will use the same Bootstrap component. Instead of input base, we'll use this one, bootstrap drop down. And I think we might not need the label. Okay, now it looks much better, but still I need some styling to centralize it horizontally and probably add some padding. So I would do it how would I do this? So let's start with centralizing it horizontally, because this is easily. Always split the task into multiple chunks, right? So we have this card, which we can make a flex box, for example. This is, we could just first write in the browser directly, right? One way would be just use text align center, probably, right? This is one way. And also add some padding. Maybe 8 pixels padding. But I honestly want this drop down to like be wider, because width it's kinda too narrow currently. Eight pixels, center, textile center. Okay, now let's go to this card element and see where we can style this anyway. Transform element, right? So here we can style it. Use style TRS element. So directly here we can style it. We can actually add immediately padding, also theme, spacing 1. I explained it in the previous stream. Theme.spacing means 8 pixels. This function calls 8 pixels multiplied by this argument. So this will be 8 pixels. If we set it to 2, then this will be 16 pixels. Now, what is the difference? Why not use just 8 pixels directly here? The idea behind this is that you can change default spacing in the theme. And so once you change it, then all the spacings everywhere will change automatically. So this is the idea. Okay, padding and text align center, right? Okay, it even has tooltips, right? For everything we can use here. So now this works like this. Somehow I feel padding top might be bigger. What if I do padding top, theme spacing 2? That is 16 pixels. So a little bigger, you see. Now I want this drop down to actually be a little wider. So transform selection drop down. So we should use styles. Oh, we should use make styles here. Actually, we do have make styles here. and it's for transform selection drop down, but somehow it doesn't work, right? Because this is not 100% as much as I can see it. Yeah, I think that's where we stopped yesterday. Where are these 100%? Yeah, I think it's not what we should style. Instead, we should style form control to set it to form control. Form control. We can just set it. Say, name it form control. No. Okay. Form control. We can make a set form control also with width 100, right? And here. So now these create styles function will create for you classes for every object here. So here in every JSON object we specify CSS. I think I gotta make my text bigger because it might be too small for some screens. Okay, I make it like this. So this form control transform selection dropdown, for this will be created a class which will apply all the CSS which we specify here, right? Like this. This should work actually. Yeah, it works. Now let's see how it affected. Okay, you see, now it affected. Now we have a drop down which is of correct width, right? Apart from that, I need titles for every panel. Is there any specific thing in Material UI for this, for the titles? Let me check. I don't see anything. Okay, no, but this is the input. This probably doesn't look what I want it to look. Yeah. I don't think we need a CSS for the titles, a specific. I mean, I don't think we need a specific component for the title because we can just use H element probably. And just in case they have it, I'm checking it. I don't think it's here. Let me try header title. No, nothing's here. So let me go to transform element component here. And where do I want to add the title? I want to add it somewhere here. I think no. Here I don't want the title. I want the title only in the panels, in the transform panel. Here I want the title here. Yeah, let's say this panel we call transforms. How is it going to look? Okay, it's not looking good. Maybe H4. Yeah, it's still not looking quite good. It's taking so much space. Oh my god. Yeah, okay. I really don't want to go. Probably we also need some font to get which font we would like to use. I really don't want to go too deep into this thing right now. Transforms. Can probably use a B. And you can just make it look like this, right? Only thing is I need to center it, right? This with the styles, right? Or no, I think it was make styles actually. Use styles equals make styles, and here theme, and then we return what we want. Header element, I would call it. I think that's a good place to actually use our theme. Where did I create that theme? I created it in main screen, I think, right? So here we can create header style, or maybe panel header, right? Panel header. Panel header, I want first to center it. So I want, this will be for the container of the text. So width we set to 100%, and text line we set to center. No. What I'm doing, this is an interface. This one can't have values. Okay. Width 100% and text line center. I prefer double quotes. Okay, and now we can get this here from theme, right? Theme, what was it called? Panel header. Okay, maybe I could do it like this instead. Using the spread operator. And now I can apply it here. What happened here? Argument of the theme is not assignable to parameter of the. What? Why is that? I don't understand. Yeah, I think I understand. I don't get it. Width and text line. This looks like shit. I think there should be a better way of doing this. Because there might be other CSS, right? No, still saying that is not assignable to parameter type thing handled during text line is not assignable to type style rules callback. Types of property header element are incompatible. Type width string text line string is not assignable to type CSS properties or function which returns CSS properties. Okay, that's what we do now. We'll call this CSS properties, right? We can call it CSS properties. What is the problem? CSS properties, right? Panel header CSS properties. And this is not CSS properties. These are CSS properties, right? So then it will work, right? Theme. What is this? Panel header. Okay, now it should work. Now we get our classes. The problem was actually, since I'm using TypeScript, this header element is expected to be of CSS properties type, and the theme panel header which I returned wasn't of type CSS properties. Instead, it was of my own type which I defined. Now instead of defining my own type, I use CSS properties type, and so that's why now it's working. Okay, use styles. Now this will create a class which we will assign here to this, and let's see what happens. Yeah, now as you can see, it's in the center. I wonder, can we do it just like this? No, you can just return a theme. Okay. Same thing we'll do with other two components with other two panels. I mean, output panel, right? Again, I don't like copy. Still, I'm copy pasting this. This can't be. This can be good, right? But I don't know of any other way. Okay, and here we will call it output. Yeah, right. Shouldn't be here, of course, but here. Okay, here we have output title, and here we should have an input title probably. So output panel and input panel. Same thing I'm doing here, just copy pasting here what I already did. Now if I wanted to change CSS of if I wanted to change the CSS of this class, the CSS of this element, this panel header element, I would just go here and modify it here, panel header, right? This is the point of using the theme. Now that we completed this preliminary design, let's call it so. We can add Redux. So that's the time to add Redux. Hold on a second. I'm not sure where is the time on this stream, so 32 minutes, okay. Okay, now let's add Redux. Just like any other app, what we start with, we Google it, right? Redux. And what does it say? Redux, a predictable state container for JS app. Let me explain you what a Redux is first. This is basically a thing which holds all your data. Okay, so once app sends an action, then reducer changes the state. Once state is changed, all the component functions are called with the new state value, right? So that's how it changes. When user sends any input to the app, for example, when user clicks, nothing, we don't change anything directly. Instead, we send an action, and this action in it will be handled inside the reducer, which will change the state, right? So state changes only inside the reducer. It does not change inside the component, and this is the point of Redux, to have the state which can be changed only in a single place in the reducer, right? Okay, so let us install, get started. So we actually want Redux. This is a library which can be used with React or without React. It can be used with any other framework, or it can be used without any framework. So what we want to install Redux, we actually use Yarn, so we will use yarn add. Let me also, our test started here. So yarn add Redux. So this will install Redux dependency. Yeah, let's look at our tests briefly. These are our yesterday's 4 tests which we completed, right? They are still completing correctly, so it's all still working. So while the Redux is installed, let us check Redux documentation a little. There should be a specific section for using it with React somewhere. Okay, you can use Redux together with React with any other library. While you can use React without Redux, using it with Redux has become so common that I can't imagine anyone using it without React right now. So people say React Redux as if it was the same thing, but it's not, of course. Okay, this was just the link to React. Okay, let's go to installation. Yeah, okay. Here they tell us how to install React Redux. You see, immediately they tell us to install React Redux. Also, the other thing which Redux DevTools, I think I will not be covering it in this video. This is basically a thing which lets you debug Redux easier. I find that this is not necessary if everything is correctly implemented. Alright. Now let's add React Redux. You will need this one too. Okay, now it got installed. So the point of Redux is that we have a single state for the whole app. Actually, we can have multiple states for the whole app, but still they will be wrapped one inside the other. We have higher level states and lower level states, and so for that we need, I think, state provider. Let me check with the tutorial. Actually, I'm pretty much sure that we get state provider. We can just import state provider and then create a state. But let's see. These are reducers. I'm seeing here reducers. Here is the component. Yeah, I'm seeing here components, but I'm not seeing here Redux anywhere actually. Okay, here. Now, yeah, disconnect. Yeah, but before we do disconnect, we should a state provider somewhere. I don't understand. Where is the provider? Where is the provider? Ah, here is the provider. I didn't see it. Okay, that's what we need. We need a create store and the provider, and this should be at the top level of our app. So somewhere here we want to do this. What? Okay, that's because I'm using TypeScript. I think I need also this module. And I prefer double quotes. Honestly, I prefer double quotes. Please, let's remove this. Single quotes from here. Okay, so first thing we do, we create a store. Store, this is like a storage. This is where our state will be stored, and this is the object which we can also use to send actions, for example. So basically, this is the main thing of the Redux, the store. So create store. The arguments for this, I think, is the reducer. Yeah, the reducer. Let me look at it again. How, oops, wrong thing. Okay, we need to provide a reducer to it. So let's first create a reducer. A reducer, this is the function which will take an action and current state as parameters and will return new state. That's it. You will get a state, you will get an action, and you need to perform some data on this state, or you will need to perform some actions on this state to modify the data and then return new state. Okay. While doing this, you should not modify old state. Instead, you create new state and you make modifications to new state and you return new state. Okay. So let's call this reducers. Reducers, we can have index.ts. So the simplest reducer. Also, I would want to create a state object, maybe state.ts export class state. I don't think it have to be a class here, because classes are not functional programming, right? It's more like a interface. Let's make it an interface. So we can just add some data like input. We might have to store our input, right? Output string, and we'll also want transforms, but how we are going to store transforms is unclear yet. So we might want to have, like, of course, an array, and we might want to have like transform type and maybe some other parameters. I'm not sure which. So let's leave it at that for now. Let's remove these transforms for now because I don't know, I don't think we need it. So export function, this will be the reducer. Reduce, we get reducer gets here we can say what it takes as an argument. State and action, right? State and action. Action is just a normal object. Anything may be inside an action. Somehow I prefer creating my own TRS action. Let's call it TRS action.ts. Export interface TRS action. I prefer having my own interface for the action. So it must have a state and it probably should have a data, which can be anything. Or maybe it should be an object, but it might be missing. Action, TRS action, right? Okay, so this is our reducer. State and action. So now here we need to perform something. We need to do something to create a new state depending on the action received. First, we can just return this state if it actually may be undefined also. Yes, or undefined. If we don't have any state, let new state equals we should make a deep copy of this state. For this I'm usually using clone deep from Lodash. We can do it like this: Lodash clone deep. I think there was a way to install just clone deep from Lodash, but I think it won't hurt if we install whole Lodash. Yarn add Lodash and maybe types Lodash. So that's what I want to do anyway. State, new state, clone deep state. If no state, then that's what we do. We create a new state with input lorem ipsum $sit amet, output nothing. So that's the default state, which will first reducer will be called with no state. In this case, we will return this default state. Otherwise, I think we can even do it like this, and this we can do here. Yeah, okay. Otherwise, we will want to perform some changes. Okay. Actual actions we will check later. So now let's add this reducer to the store. Port reduce from Okay, reducers shouldn't be inside components, of course. It should be somewhere here. Reducers. So now we provide our reducer to the create store function, and we have a store. Now that we have a store, we can create the provider element. It should be the parent element for everything, and we provided store, right? So that's what we did. We set up Redux right now. Now how we can use it? First of all, let's check. First of all, let's check our input panel component from which we get the input, right? So on every input, we will send actions, right? Where is the thing which gives us the input? This TRS text area. So we will want to add onChange function, which is called on every change. Of course, it is called with the React change event. I think I can even function onChange. So what is here? Before I start doing this, actually, we need to connect component to Redux. That's what I missed here. Every component needs to be connected to Redux, which is rather tedious, actually. Connect from Redux. No, from React Redux. React Redux. It should be here. Yeah. Now this will be our basic component, and we'll have connected component also, which will input component equals connect, and here we need to specify two functions: map state to props and map. Basically, it's map state to props and map dispatch to props, right? Map state, I'm gonna call it function map state to props. Map state to props function should takes, what does it take? I just don't completely remember what it takes. I'm pretty much sure what it takes. It takes a state. That's what it takes. It takes a state and it returns props, which we did not specify here. So normally we would want interface input panel component props, right? And here we can specify state, for example, state, so that it takes whole state. And yeah, and here we will have our props, input panel component props, and we are returning this state here, so that we can access the state inside of our component. Now this state, Redux state, will be accessible inside of this component. You see? Now we do the connect. How do we do this connect? We pass this map state to props, and another function which is more important now is map dispatch to props. It takes a dispatch function. It has a dispatch function as its argument, and dispatch function is the thing which actually sends data to Redux state. It can send action to Redux state. This is called dispatch. Map dispatch to props. Okay. For example, we might have an action called input received, right? Which will dispatch an action. This should be a function on input received to make it. We should have it here too. Now, on input received function. Or what is it? New input string. Okay. So this means that this on input receive function takes one argument and it returns nothing. Now we can dispatch action to Redux. I personally prefer having some list of actions. Export. So we might have a list of actions like input received. Can't find module input received. Okay. Ooh. Okay. Export const actions equals like this. Okay. So type, we can instead do it like actions input received. You see it automatically imported it from there. And we can have an amp, and we can have this input inside this data, right? New input string. New input. Okay. So now this we will send once input changes inside of the text area. On change. Props on input received. Event current target, I think, value. That should be good. Now that, so every time text in the input area changes, we send action input received to Redux, which uses it as an argument to our reducer. Where is our reducer? Here, right? So let's say this TRS action is the input received. So let's check if it's input received actually. If, or maybe we can do a switch probably. Action type case actions input received. So if this input is equals to input received, I somehow, okay, I somehow think it should be on the same line in case statement. Okay, so on input received, we do the following changes easy, right? We just set states input to the input we received and the action data new input. That's interesting. Okay, we have to do this any. Yeah, now it's fine. I think that's all. This is enough to change our state. One other thing here, where is our input panel component, is that we also want set value to set value to what we have inside this state so that they're synchronized. Yeah, like this. Let's check what's going on in our terminal. I think we need to restart everything because we installed many dependencies, right? Not sure, is it building? Okay, type is not assignable to type intrinsic attributes and component, never any intrinsic type is not assignable to type function component, never type object provides no match for the signature. Okay, which line is this? Main screen component 3318. Let me check. I don't know what's happening here. Alright, I did not. So this connect function actually returns another function which needs to be called on the original component, which I didn't do on this input component base, right? So now it should be correct. Oops, this is our tests. But okay, we can just run the tests also. So tests are still working. Okay, so you see here, now we see this text lorem ipsum $sit amet in the input. It's actually a good sign. It's the sign that everything is working as needed. Yeah, or I use actually Firefox. Okay, lorem ipsum $sit amet, as you remember, we set inside this state. Where is this state? It's here, inside the reducer. So first, when we created store, this reducer was called with state as undefined and with no action. So in this case, since there was no state, we returned this, which is the default state. Next time, when we send an action, it will be called with this state and our action. Currently, we haven't performed any actions, but let's perform some actions. So this actually changes the state here. So this state changes. Once it is changed inside of the reducer here, we return it, you see. Once we change it, all functions, all props, so they get, sorry, I got disconnected for a second. I think that's what it's saying. OBS is telling me that I was disconnected. So once again, the action is received inside of the reducer, and then we create new state, we make changes, and we return this state. Once the state is returned, all the functional components are executed again with the new state parameter provided to them via this function, map state to props. So once state changes, we will have here a new state with the new input value. So we here set value to the input, but now input also changed inside the reducer, and we see changes here. You see? That's how it works. So I think this should be enough for today. I haven't added any tests today, haven't done any functional things today, but since I added Redux, then tomorrow it will be easy to do some action with this. So let us check what we have coming up next. When the user clicks the input panel encoding drop down, so we completed this task. So number 5, when the user clicks, let me make this bigger. Number 5, when the user clicks the input panel encoding drop down, the drop down should open and they should see 3 options: UTF-8, base 16, base 64. Well, actually base 16 is hex, also called hex. UTF-8 we can call text instead. That's what we already have, but we need a test for that. Somehow it didn't change. Text hex. Yeah, I will add a test for that tomorrow. Given that the input panel encoding drop down is open, whether it clicks any option, the drop down should close. Yeah, these ones actually are pretty self-explaining. Maybe we can leave them aside for now, because I'm not sure how interesting this would be for the stream. When the user clicks any option other than the current one, they should see the text and the text area change. Okay. So when we change encoding, it says then we should automatically transform it from the old encoding into the new encoding. This is the point of spec 7. And plus button. Oh, I actually didn't add plus button. That's what I have done. I think this would be a good first time spec for tomorrow. Yes. So basically it says when we add a new transform element, then it should appear. Okay. Anyway, now I'm going to end the stream. Thank you for watching. If you like this stream, then subscribe to my channel. If actually you watch a record of the broadcast, then I will add a subscribe button somewhere in the center. Likes, comments and questions are much appreciated. Thank you.